This is the assembly of a spiker box. A spiker box is a bioamplifier used to let one see and hear action potentials of neurons in invertebrates. The environment can stimulate neurons, leading them to action potential. You will need the following parts to complete the assembly: a DIY spiker box kit, solder, soldering iron, and various other parts. It would be wise to go ahead and organize the parts before beginning. This is the PCB board. Many parts will be soldered onto this. It is imperative while soldering not to burn the PCB board. This is the power switch, LED light, RCA input, and audio line. These are some resistors and capacitors. These battery connectors will be used to connect the PCB board to a 9-volt battery. These are chips and chip holders. These parts will be used in part 2 of the spiker box assembly, the speaker and the electrode. Here are tips for soldering. Be careful not to get any solder in places that they don't need to be. Wipe off the soldering iron many times during use. And don't get the solder close to the body as it is very hot. Watch how to solder. Note that the silly putty is under the PCB board to stabilize it. If you solder incorrectly, there is still hope to save your spiker box. The key is a solder remover. To use a solder remover, you must have it and a soldering iron ready. First, you must melt the solder with the soldering iron and quickly place the solder remover next to the solder that is melted and use it. You may have to do this multiple times. And now to part 1, assembling the PCB. First, you will install the audio line, power switch, LED light, and RCA connector. Don't forget to solder. Next, you will solder onto the PCB board the resistors. You can pause the video here so you can see which resistor goes into each spot. The color bands on the resistor show which spot they should go into. After inserting the resistors and soldering, clip the leads. Now you can install the capacitors into their desired positions, as you see on the screen. Resistor 220 has a polarity and the stripe must be facing forward. Next, you can install the chip holders. Make sure the notch is pointed forward. Install the 9-volt battery connectors into the appropriate slots. Now you can install the speaker connector just in front of capacitor 220. Now you can put the chips into the chip holders. There is fine print on the chips that you must pay attention to. And now part 2, speaker and electrode assembly. First, you will need to split the speaker wire about 1 inch on both sides using scissors. Make sure you strip 1/2 inch on all 4 ends of the speaker wire and twist the ends so they do not fray. Insert the two ends of these wires into the holes of the RCA connector and solder to the clamps on both sides. Next, solder the needles to the ends of the speaker wires. Now you can cut the last inch of the speaker wires and strip a little bit of the wire off on the ends. With the wires stripped, you can solder them to the two ends of the speaker box. Separate the wires with electrical tape to ensure there's no crossing of the signal. Now, part 3, final assembly. Place the screws through the cover and PCB board, and then put 1-inch tubing over the screws. Attach the speaker to the speaker connector, and gently press the speaker into the top enclosure. Now place the top enclosure onto the screws, and use the hex screws to fasten them. The final step is to place the cork sticker on the top of the box, and connect the RCA to the box and place the pins on the cork. Congratulations, you have completed your assembly of the spiker box.